Just waiting on some speakers to come here. We have War here. I'm inviting him to speak. He usually does. I'm not sure it'll let me. No. I see that there's one person listening anonymously, so I'll try to talk. Try to keep us entertained here. Yeah, what the heck? Everybody, Marchese Maxers say that they're going to show up and it's going to be great, and they're going to show up right away, and then they don't. Tisk tisk. We have Barbie here. I think Barbie said she won't speak, but I'll send her the invite in case she has something to say. And standing by for some other vets or whoever. I guess in the meantime, we could say what's been going on with Israel and Iran. And so far, everything I have seen is that they're just exchanging back and forth. I know that a big development was that Israel asked the United States to get involved, and the United States appears to be on the edge of that. We also have all sorts of speculations about what psyops are being run, who's saying what to get what sort of prompting or priming for the public. So a lot of stuff here, but ultimately the next big development will indeed be the United States directly involving itself. And I guess a little bit of a review of that is not only just simply because we have a security guarantee with Israel, which we have because we're influenced by them, but there's a problem with this version of going to the Middle East, and that is that we love to think of the Middle East as like these underdeveloped, unsophisticated countries, but Iran's actually pretty developed and pretty sophisticated. You might have seen that lately. I got Chiller here. Let me add him. Sometimes the speaker thing is weird if you invite somebody, but they ask. So we have a problem of invading Iran is not the same as BTFOing Iraq. Iraq was a smaller country, a less developed country. We like BTFO'd them in however long it was. Iran is going to be a little different. And as it pertains to the U.S. interests and with the nukes and everything, their nukes are like deeply embedded in their territory, underground and everything. So it's going to take a little more than just some half-ass airstrike to get in. So we really only have two options for the United States' involvement, especially because we've put Iran in this catch-22 position wherein if they surrender, they get like taken over and overthrown. But if they don't surrender, then they're at war with us, which eventually leads to them probably losing and then being taken over. So what do? So far, it looks like they are going to hold out, and the problem with that is that leaves the United States with two options for when it does get involved, and that is to either invade or to nuke them. And then once we drag nukes into it, unironically, actually, not just like the Cold War, we have a much larger and more serious problem because who's Iran's buddy? Iran's buddy is Russia and China. And this is sort of the outlook for what a world war looks like in development. When we saw World War I and World War II develop, we had a problem of there. Let me invite James here to speak, and then I got you, Peace Storm. We had a problem of domino effect relationships, and so you're kind of seeing exactly that to this day. So, Peace Torn, you go ahead.
Yeah, the lack of foresight can be seen because a lot of times you're gonna see, the Jews plan something, but then it's gonna backfire really badly. Considering the fact, if we go to war and the soldiers go to Israel and they fight there, there's a lot of um, instability in our own country, and a lot of people have had it with us going to foreign wars. So if they do go, then the people here and the veterans here too will probably retaliate when all the soldiers aren't here.
Yeah, that's a good segue.
Yeah, that's a good.
We have the issue of, you know, even like the most turbo normie retard like at this point starts thinking, why are we always going, I made that meme of that woman who's like, wait, we're going to war with Iran, didn't we already beat them in 2003? Like, the meme is that she's confusing Iran and Iraq. But turbo normies, unironically, they don't even have to be like J-pilled in any meaningful way to know that, okay, it's been like, as far as they've been alive in their lifetime, we've been weirdly at war in the Middle East. I think I can even feel the sensation of, I remember as a kid seeing us go there, and then we never left. There was no real meaningful exit except for in like 2020, 2021, whatever it was. But even then, we still have a presence there. So that segues us into what veterans think and feel about it. So in case you've ever missed it, I'm like a vet, but I'm like a turbo dork vet. I never went overseas. I had my job as a shadow operator, but that doesn't mean anything. I knew some guys who did go overseas. They had actually just came back by the time I got to the unit. So they didn't really have too much to say about being in Afghanistan. That's where they were. But they did say, and they weren't even really like Jew pilled or anything, but they did say that experience, some of them were just like faggots who thought it was cool, but other guys really, they developed issues from it that, issues in their feelings about it and everything. But ultimately they report that like they weren't really sure what the fuck they were doing there, because how do you, especially 2019, you think about it, like who are you fighting for, what reason again, and why are you risking it all to go there? So I think a lot of Iraq War era vets, from what I've seen, they have. So all that's to say, by the way, that I never went overseas, so I can't really speak to what it's like to be overseas. All I can do is report what I've heard. And I guess what I can speak to is there's this problem of the military culture that you guys have probably picked up on in here online. Online, people call them boots or Zogbots or something like that. We do have this problem of the naive idiot 18-year-old or any version of that believes that joining the military will make them tough, alpha, blah, 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 something along those lines. And so what they do is they join and they think that specifically the way to be tough is to obsequiously follow every last little doctrinal mandate or cultural mandate or embodiment of the value, the army values or the army ideals. But what's the problem with that? The problem is it's an act. It is an act to get women's approval or whatever, but it is an act of, realistically, the military doesn't actually ask you to fucking do anything that difficult every day. You're a glorified idiot every day. You're a glorified janitor. You're a glorified, and some, I don't think anyone in here is a boot, but we'll get a boot in here some point. So let me caveat that with, I'm sure some people do cool things every day and whatever. But ultimately, you're a glorified fucking janitor. Nothing you do every day is challenging in a meaningful way that will make you manly or whatever. The emotional resilience idea is false because what it really just makes you is a basic, like, level 1 functioning fucking adult. So this idea that it makes you the ultimate tough guy of the country is also false. And even when there's the idea of emotional resilience from being deployed or something, or, facing combat or something, yeah, like you don't get like kind of retarded to be willing to risk your life for the sake of masculinity points, for the sake of emotional resilience points. Oh, I went through a thing. And some of them even just use that to try to get victim points. So, wrapping myself up here before I let Peace Torn speak, I'll say that this programming of convincing these young naive idiots that they're tough guys and everything just to go Zogbot off and fucking die is a morality question of not just vulnerability, but ultimately the question of what are you doing over there? What are you fighting for? How is this defense, right? It's the Department of Defense. How is it defense if you go and overthrow the Saddam Hussein regime because Israel told us to? So, Peace Torn, you go ahead.
Yeah, Disco Jensen, do you want to say something? I know that you're a veteran and you've been having thoughts lately, and I would like to hear what you think.
Yeah, I invited him to speak. I have James here. James, I actually served with. You're welcome to speak, bro. Gibson's listening here, or loyal Marchese general. I'll invite Sufjan to speak, see if Sufjan has any thoughts. Anybody else, any thoughts? Anybody know a veteran if you're not one? Besides me?
My own father was a veteran.
Okay, gotcha.
He fought during the I don't know what it is because it's like secret and stuff, but he fought and then he like saved the Jews or something. It was really weird, but he has a lot of respect for them, and it's kind of annoying because he never shuts up about them.
Gotcha. Yeah, he fell for it. He fell for the programming on heckin' saving the heckin' Jews. That's really like, there are some, like, I think the main cohort of veterans that I see that really get like red pilled on this stuff are the ones that are very discontented with how everything went in Iraq, Afghanistan, and everything because they saw what was going on. And a lot of them, from being over there, do have a deep understanding of how, like, there's all these gay little factional elements that are fighting each other, fighting you, and all of that. And so it begs the question of, for them, why did my friends have to get mutilated or die on that behalf? So, Barbie, you go ahead.
Hey, yeah, I'll just come and chat until you get your vets here. Um, I was gonna say, I think with the America-Israel thing, I'm not an expert on these things, but I think that Israel has America by the balls,
Yes.
basically. Israel have already stated or claimed outwardly that they've got America's support, which is a big statement to make to Iran. And America did say, and this was like 10 years ago, that like the reason they had to have a protective interest in Israel because of Iran. So I think that Israel were already under the awareness that if they did anything to Iran, America are going to be left with no choice, and UK and probably quite a lot of other places. Um, I don't think it will go as far as nuclears, but only because they're not aware of what Iran has. They're not happy with their nuclear program, and currently they know that it's going to be ready by 2030, I think,
Hmm.
but it's still like a package. That's what I know. I don't know if I'm right. That's just what I've learned. But but the thing is, I think that they'd be too unpredictable in that respect if they went into nuking.
Hmm.
But I do think that there's going to be a situation where I think America is just like one of the biggest issues for America is the financial obligation. And what I mean by that is that Israel has a serious financial sort of element in America,
Yep.
the banking system and everything like that. And I hate to say it, but war for these people is business. It's not for the veterans, obviously, and the people that die and the people in the streets. But for these guys, this is all like a business transaction. It's absolutely fucked, but that's kind of what it is on some level.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely good take. You see it. I was even talking to my mom earlier today, who's like a turbo liberal, and even she was saying, yeah, like it's not even controversial anymore. And I was telling her, if we were having this conversation 10 years ago, we'd be called an anti-Semite by everyone we know for saying, yeah, there's a problem of Jewish influence in the United States. Let me say this too, where people really have a confusion with the Jewish influence is that when you have Jews in positions of power in media and in Hollywood and whatever and all of that and in politics, the thing that Whitey Whitesmith fails to understand every time is that there is an implication that is that in those positions of power, they will exercise that power to advance their interests, often to the detriment of the American interests. And why do they do that? And that is because they racially collectivize. They consider themselves a people together. They work together internationally, nationally, and they have a rooted identity in that. Like they are definitionally, quote unquote, racist. And so Whitey Whitesmith, though, has been trained for so many years now to not collectivize, to not understand collectivization, that we can't even see it in other groups. But the key thing here to really understand is that because they collectivize and they have a strong racial identity and racial consolidation, it follows that they are going to act in their best interest, especially when they think about their history of not being welcome anywhere and so forth. You know, we all know some of those reasons why, but from their point of view, they have to do that for their survival. It's almost like this histrionic survival idea. So you're right on the money with that. I'll say the Iran position. Here's the tricky thing about what's been going on with Iran. So, firstly, to your point too, we've been enslaved by Israel. This has all been in Israel's interest in specifically gaining regional hegemony. Regional hegemony for them, in part, means that they are the only nuclear power. And it's pretty simple to see how that works. Essentially, if you have nukes, nobody can fuck with you who doesn't have a nuke because you can nuke them and win any war with them instantly, like right away. Iran was pursuing a nuke, but now they weren't, but they still had maintained a civilian nuclear program. And with a civilian nuclear program, it makes them capable of enriching uranium to the point of using it for a bomb. And this is how we've had for the past 30 years Israel huffing and puffing that they're 2 weeks away from a bomb. They're 2 weeks away from a bomb because they could enrich enough uranium to produce a bomb. So then you arrive at the 2010s with the Iran nuclear deal and everything, and you have that the United States doesn't want Iran to have a nuclear weapon, which is aligned with Israel's interest, but Israel ultimately wants their regime toppled and a puppet regime in their place, or some version of fractionalizing them like we've done with every other country. And so now, with Iran, though, being on the precipice of a nuke, there's a catch-22 for everybody, wherein if they go and just randomly or outright pursue the bomb, they will, that incites war. If we find out about that, okay, well, why are they pursuing a bomb? Like, we can't risk letting that happen, so we got to go in and invade. But if they disband their civilian nuclear program altogether, well, then they're just vulnerable to Israel and the United States BTFOing them. And you could see the history of this, and I think that's what happened with Libya. That's what they call the Libya model. Libya denuclearized, and then they just, got fucked up. So all that's to say, Iran has to maintain where it's at the very least, but the impasse is the United States doesn't want that, and then Israel doesn't want that. And so to your point about goading Iran into it, because the United States is such a bitch for Israel and so enslaved, we have that we have our security guarantee with them, and this has been Israel's game this entire time. Remember when they bombed the Iran embassy in, I think it was Syria? When they bombed the Iran embassy, that was an attempt to get them to attack Israel strongly enough that it goads the United States into it. And everyone in the world knows that this is the game that they're playing. This was where you had the preemptive attack. So, excuse me for going on for a long while there. Barbie, you go ahead, and then we'll see if anybody else.
I was just going to say, regarding their nuclear weapons program, I know that UK put sanctions on them in 2022, and America were in talks with them.
Yes.
But since the airstrike, Iran have now stopped all talks.
Yeah.
So any sort of diplomatic relationship that was already very difficult between US and America, between US and Iran, is now dead. But what Iran have said is that they're going to airstrike US base if US airstrike first. So though they won't, obviously they won't go to America itself, but that doesn't mean that American soldiers won't suffer the result of it. So America literally now got the situation where not only do they have the issue of they're being threatened if they get involved, if they don't get involved, they've got a nuclear weapons program going on with sanctions outside their jurisdiction. So, and I know the UK's got the same situation. They're trying to de-escalate, but I think that is really, really hard for Trump right now because Iran have just basically said, go fuck yourselves.
Yeah, and you think about it, Israel assassinated multiple high-level officials. Now, the United States is just straight up lying that they weren't in the know, that they didn't have any influence in it and everything. And so Iran is calling that and saying, listen, this is our responsibility, and it doesn't matter even if we don't participate, because ultimately who grants Israel license for its behavior? Although Israel owns us, we're also enabling them. Like, really, this all would have completely stopped if we stopped funding their campaign in Gaza and everything, because they're a small country and they can't keep this up by themselves. So Iran, like, rightfully says, yeah, look, you're behind this too. Like, we hold you accountable. And with high level assassinations like that, they sort of rightfully are saying, yeah, fuck you. We don't want to talk. Like, what would we talk about? You're already attacking us. What do we, what's there to even avoid at this point? So, absolutely good thing to bring up. I think, Mike, I know you're a Marine vet. What time did you serve? Did you go overseas? Do you know guys who went overseas?
Yeah, I went straight out of high school from 2006 to 2010. A combat veteran in the Helmand province in 2009. When I went to Iraq, there was nothing really going on. I got to see all the quote unquote fun, crazy stuff in 2009.
Gotcha.
It's just you ever look at this and see like Israel, well, they're doing this whole genocide in Gaza. They have illegal nukes.
Yes.
And this whole like with Iran having nuclear weapons, it's just like there's not much indication of God, how should I say this? Like I think that like Israel, they're trying to create this whole narrative with this crazy racist lead that the Iranians can't be trusted. That they're trying to blow up the world and all that stuff. But Israel's, they're looked at as like innocent angels when they're really not.
Yeah.
And I really hope that USA does not even by proxy, but not join the war, not even help them by proxy, none of this stuff. This bullshit, getting men involved in this stuff. This might ruffle a lot of feathers, but I kind of regret, joining I do like that I joined the Marine Corps, but I regret fighting in war. And I know that might piss a lot of people off, but that's just my thing. We're just getting men to join in this stupid, useless war. It's wasteless. We have no business in this. Let another fucking country fight their own wars. Fuck them. I'm worried about USA and our young men. These bitches want to join the war. Put these bitches out in the fucking front lines. Get these feminists out there. Get these women out there.
Yeah.
Fuck you guys. Stop wasting men's young lives and treating us like second-class citizens. Israel is not a fucking angel. Fuck them, and I'm tired of all this bullshit.
Yeah, well said. To your point, real about the nukes. Yeah, they obtained nukes illegally, and this was the Apollo affair. The Apollo affair, or NUMEC affair, was a 1965 incident in which a U.S. company, NUMEC, in the Pittsburgh suburbs of Apollo and Parks Township, Pennsylvania, was investigated for losing 200 to 600 pounds of highly enriched uranium, with suspicions that it had gone to Israel's nuclear weapons program. So, of course, they're going to caveat with it's suspicious and all of that. Crazy concept, but if every event of the past 50 fucking century, or 50 years, 50 plus years, somehow strangely benefits Israel to the detriment of everyone else. Crazy fucking concept, but maybe it's because they're behind it. So your point, they absolutely do have their nukes basically because they said fuck you and stole them from us, stole specifically highly enriched uranium. We also have, to your point, about regretting fighting in war. A lot of guys who went overseas do say that they regret it. We really have this, and this relates to a lot of masculinity problems, wherein these fucking faggot type guys think that they're going to go over and like kill somebody and they're going to get some sort of sense of power out of that, some sense of manliness. Oh, look, oh, look, women, I'm dangerous to other men. Like, please have sex with me now. And even absent that, it's still this ego attachment to this faux masculinity of just trying to assert power in every circumstance that you go into. And like, taking a life is an easy thing to do. It's not a challenging thing to do. It's not a fucking hard thing to do. It's not a cool thing to do. It is, the idea that you have arbitration over who gets to live and who doesn't, is, only God has that arbitration. And even if you're like not really fond of the religious ideas, you could certainly see that that is the highest offense. And just because it's war, it's not exactly going to make you feel like you're doing the right thing or that it's justified. Shooting at somebody who's trying to kill you, like you're not exactly going to feel wrong about it in the way you would if you just outright fucking murder somebody. But you still killed somebody, and that does something to you. And a lot of these guys, to your point, regret that. They have a strange guilt for killing people, even though they had no choice. And so this is the tricky thing of morality. This is the tricky thing about how these guys are sold on this idea of masculinity, but they come back feeling like they are guilty. What's more, people don't understand what war, like, unironically, it's a real gay platitude that to say real war isn't like the frickin' video games, but I guess a lot of people actually don't fucking know that. And this is just evident. I wasn't even overseas, but every veteran knows that we have a real fucking competence problem in the military, and that competence problem precipitates logistics problems, precipitates problems of food and water and all that, and crazy fucking concept. But I know in the games that you don't like have to fucking eat in the game, but in real war you actually have to fucking eat. And especially in those types of environments, you got your camelback on and everything. You could run out of fucking water in like 2 or 3 hours because you're sweating your fucking balls off because you're about to die and it's like 120 degrees. And then, you might get stuck. You might get isolated. Next thing you know, you're stuck 3 days without fucking water and you just die. So so these characters don't understand what it takes from you to kill somebody, even if they're trying to kill you. And they also don't understand that the danger of war, actually, as a matter of fact, is logistical problems. I think the most amount of deaths in the World War II, I'll look it up real quick, but most deaths in World War II had nothing to do with combat, I'm pretty sure. I think, let's see, causes, highest cause of death in World War II. You'll find that it's logistical issues with water or with sickness or with money. Let's see, war-related famine and disease, civilian deaths, blah, blah, blah. So this doesn't quite understand my question here. Fucking, we're in the future moment. AI is so epic and awesome moment, but it says right here, war-related famine. Like, especially in Europe, a lot of these guys fucking froze to death. So, yeah, great stuff to bring up. Thanks for that. Peace Torn, you go ahead.
Yeah, a lot of people don't understand, but the most dangerous thing about killing people is that in the beginning it's difficult, because you feel bad. But after the first one, after the second one, it gets easier and easier and easier. And normally it would be something that pushes you back, but eventually it's so easy that it's just like an option always. And that's dangerous because when you kill so many people, it makes you so many enemies.
Yeah. And people seem to separate what that is with war because war is somehow justified or kill them before they kill me and all of that. But it's very unnatural and very not a part of the human psyche to like just fucking kill people, even if it's ostensibly justified. So we have. And to your point about Israel's not exactly fucking innocent. Like, this all starts not just because they were inserted in there and everyone's a big fat meanie who hates fucking Jewish people, but it all starts with in 1948, there was the partition of the British Mandate of Palestine and Israel. And this was called the Nakba by Palestinians, the catastrophe. And that is that essentially Israel came storming on in there and then just fucking massacred them and scattered them across all the Arab states, which, wouldn't appear to be be a problem because it's akin to, Germans fleeing to France and everything. But just those minute differences between those cultures and peoples and everything can cause destabilizing problems. And that's what you had in the Middle East. So you're absolutely right that Israel's not all that fucking innocent, but because they have eternal victim currency, God forbid you say that, maybe they did something fucking stupid and jerky. Brian, you go ahead.
There we go. Got fine. No, the mic didn't want to come off for a second. I'm a Air Force vet, 80 to 86. So I just did a quick similar search to what you did. I didn't differentiate between Axis and Allied powers, but the highest cause of military deaths in World War II was artillery fire, followed up by small arms fire. It looked like I didn't read much further.
Okay, let's see. Well, let's see. World War II deaths. Let's do.
Well, by putting military deaths in there, I kind of limited it to combat.
Okay, yeah. I'm sure it interpreted your question
Yeah,
was right.
the way you did it before would have included all deaths, civilian, military, everything.
Yeah, let's see. Well, it'll take me a minute to type it correctly, but to your point, there is, there's all kinds of death in World War II, and sometimes that death is simply logistic issues of famine, not having enough supplies and everything. And what that underscores is that wars are not as easily defined, one side of lines and versus another, and that underscores that it's a cruel, it's a awful thing that you might not even go down fighting. You might just go down because some fucking idiot at S1 or something couldn't figure out how to get the paperwork together to ship out the MREs or whatever. Peace Torn, you go ahead.
Yeah, since the beginning of time when wars happened, the vast majority of soldiers died getting to the battlefield from the conditions of, the road. So it's kind of funny how, things don't really change as the world goes forward.
Yeah, absolutely. Sifchan, you go ahead.
Hey, yeah, I'll just keep this short just because I'm kind of enjoying hearing you cook, Marchese.
Thank you.
Um, but, to your point about 1948 Nakba, not to go too far off topic, but I am one of those Palestinians that is living in diaspora outside of Palestine.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, my mother was a refugee in 1952 rather. Moved from, or I guess was forced to move from Ashkelon to Gaza and then later to Qatar. And my father's family, before he was born, they moved from Hebron in the West Bank to Egypt. And one of the saddest things about living in diaspora like this is the fact that we have family literally all over the world, but mostly in the Middle East. So I have family in Iran, I have family in Doha in Qatar, in Lebanon and Jordan, and some still within the 1948 borders of Israel. So it's a different kind of scary. I mean, I'm sure everyone is scared for the world and the health of humanity, but just knowing that there's a lot of family out there, it's really pretty scary to just think about the possibility that they might all vanish. Um, but yeah, it's really, I'd love to hear more about what the experts out there, and obviously thank you to all the veterans who've provided service to all of us here. But I really would love to hear where everyone thinks this might go.
Yeah, absolutely. Brian, you go ahead. You got your hand up?
Yeah, I just wanted to say Safjan and Barbie are the reason I found the space, and I've now followed most all the speakers. But I wanted to raise this point about people having guilt for killing, even during war. To me, I think that's a little bit of, I mean, yes, it's stressful. I'm not going to deny that. I think it's just lack of preparation, poor training. So I think somebody alluded to that earlier as in a competence problem with our military. But you also got to think that it is so hard to kill another human being, even in war. You have to be trained to do the most reprehensible thing that a human being can do: kill another human being. And you have to have competent commanders that can take you up and get you to cross that line and actually kill somebody and then stop and bring you back. That requires a lot of training and very competent leaders.
What would you say? What would you say that training would entail? Like, how would somebody train? for that. And it's okay if you don't have an answer. I'm just wondering if you've given it some thought.
Well, I can't say. I mean, because I think it's you got to. I mean, it's the physical thing is one thing. I think it's more psychological. You got to
Yes.
get them more psychologically done.
Yes.
So that's why I'm going to say that during my time in the Air Force, it was kind of a joke boot camp because we weren't physical. Our basic thing was military drill techniques stuff, but it was psychological as a motherfucker.
Right.
Uh, if you left your pocket unbuttoned, they couldn't make you get down and do 20 push-ups, but they could make you stand. Of course, this is Air Force with both arms extended, one up with the other, and turn like you're airplane banking and just sit and turn and around because this punishment had to suit the discrepancy. Well, that button or that flap unbuttoned is like a flap up on an aircraft. It's going to make it turn. So they can make you sit there and do this, go bzzz. I mean, they just really worked on you, on your brain in Air Force boot camp. I think it needs to be more psychological. I think, I can't say because I haven't experienced anybody else's and I sure as hell don't know them now. I think it's just a lack of psychological training for our service members, why they have some troubles with this. I can't say that for a fact because I don't know what they're currently doing and what they're currently training. That's just my opinion.
Gotcha. Well said. Peace Torn, you go ahead.
Yeah, many soldiers get to the point where they become living weapons and they can't come back. The truth is the massive majority can't come back from it. So they have to be on medicine. It gets really difficult because when you come back, everything becomes very complicated. You have to worry about stupid things. And when you're in war, you don't have to worry about that. You just have to worry about survival and camaraderie. So over here, you come back and you have to worry about bills, about companionship, about dumb things. It seems so much simpler when you're over there than when you're over here. And to the point about how you train these soldiers, the mass majority, they have to take pills, but it's not the pills that do it. It's the sleep deprivation. The sleep deprivation is the thing that really fucks you up. I know because for the longest time in my life, I've had problems with sleep. And after, let's say, 3 to 4 days of not sleeping, your brain gets all messed up and it becomes extremely hard to come back from that. You become a changed person. You're not the same ever again.
Yeah, absolutely. There's certainly, there's this issue of the brain that, and this replicates everywhere, but PTSD is the most famous example of it, wherein, well, it's not even, this part isn't even PTSD per se, but there's this idea that your brain transitions what's comfortable and what's uncomfortable. And a lot of times knowing is more comfortable than not knowing. And so vets will have this problem of, let's say they'll be sleeping overnight in the middle of Hoopty Goopty province, and they'll hear artillery fire or something or gunfire, but they can hear how far away it is so they can know that they're safe. But back home, they'll be here and their brain starts to panic because now that you can't hear it, now you don't know where it is. And if you don't know where it is, there's a huge problem that it might be closer to you. So that's one of the manifestations of the issues that veterans have when they come back, you know. And yeah, I mean, the killing, I think I saw, I looked it up one time, but I didn't quite, um, I couldn't quite find it. But one buddy told me that there was a study that found that like 90% of like soldiers, like they won't fire on somebody if somebody's back is turned to them or something, or they're not firing at them already. So I can't really speak to that, but perhaps there is something we could all say that underscores that the idea that, to Brian's point, that you're being asked to do the most reprehensible thing you could do as a person, even if it's ostensibly justified or for the sake of saving the later and greater number of people, killing a bomber terrorist or something like that. It's a tricky thing to navigate in the mind of you're doing something wrong for to stop the less wrong, but it's still incredibly wrong, and it plays all sorts of tricks on us. Peace Torn, you go ahead, and then Brian.
Yeah, like I was saying before, the sleep deprivation, afterwards, I noticed that I started getting this weird hypervigilance thing where I couldn't shut off my brain. I'm guessing a lot of, people that go overseas and fight, they get the same thing because of lack of sleep. And you can't really turn it off. It's like a constant thing. Always being on edge, always being jittery, it's not like being afraid. It's always like being prepared, which really messes you up. And it becomes a huge problem when you're supposed to be calm in regular day-to-day life and you're not supposed to think like, oh my God, Greg is going to stab me in the stomach, but you're always hypervigilant. So you always have to be prepared.
Yeah, absolutely. Well said. Brian, you go ahead.
Well, I got a couple of things. One, I think they're actually both to Peace Torns, but this thing about having trouble coming back, that didn't always happen. So this again is telling me something's wrong with our training. We didn't have this issue with people having trouble readjusting in World War II, World War I, Korea. We didn't have troubles with that. I'm sure some of them did, but we didn't have this massive amount of trouble. So it's to me, it seems like something's going wrong in our training. So I still go back to that with training. But when you say about state of mind, now see, yes, I was in the Air Force, but I was in 3rd Combat Communications Group, and my job was to go out and set up forward air bases, set up the comm forum, which meant I came in first and I left last. So my job was basically go out and live in tents.
Right.
And so one of the things they sent me was down to Honduras at one point. And before I went down there, they had to teach me how I had to go to an anti-terrorist school. Well, they can't teach you anti-terrorism without teaching you to think like a terrorist.
Mm-hmm.
But I still maintain this mindset. I'm always vigilant. Even this 40 years ago, I still, to this day, I'm always paying attention. How close am I to a back of a vehicle? Do I have an escape route? So I'm always looking at these. These things do stick with you. You can live with them, but I notice I do this all the time. I don't always notice I do it, but I always do it. So, and by the way, that particular deployment is the main reason I got out. And good thing I did, because I couldn't figure out what the hell we were doing there.
Yeah.
And about 6 months to a year, maybe after I got out, the Iran-Contra affair. That's what I was part of.
Gotcha. Yeah. It's pretty nebulous at the time, and yeah, I mean, you train to you look out for things, absolutely, and it just sort of sticks with you, and you might not even necessarily be doing it out of fear, but just out of habit. So, good point to make. I saw Vermilion's hand, so we'll go Vermilion and then Mike.
Yeah, so I don't have any military experience, just to be clear, but so I just shooting off my hip. But is there outside of training, is there a component of I think I read this somewhere, I don't know where. Is there a component of experiencing war trauma in a war you don't think you should even be part of versus, for example, I mean, if you were in World War II, you knew you had to be in it, and you knew what you were fighting for, and that at the end of it, it was going to be justified why you sacrificed so much. But are some of these Middle Eastern wars, or like I think Vietnam had kind of a similar result on a lot of people, where they just didn't adjust afterwards compared to other wars, even though it was very shortly after World War II.
May I address that?
So I mean, is it that part of it?
I'll just say real quick. So it sounds like your question is something along the lines of, is there a difference in observing what the effects are on soldiers where, let's say, it's an unpopular war versus a popular war? I will say there was one thing in the Army that was known as conscientious objection, and that was a way to get out, wherein you sort of like write an essay basically on how your beliefs at the start of the military came to that it's fine to like fight wars and kill people and everything in that sense, but then you developed a morality or a conscientiousness that makes you severely morally disturbed by killing people. That is one of the in a similar fashion, but it relates, but it's not quite what you said. I know Brian wants to address that, but Mike, I saw your hand up earlier, so but you put it down. But if you have something quick to say, by all means.
Yeah, I was going back to Brian's point. I don't think it's necessary the training for our mindset. I think the training was always there. Dealing with a lot of the soldiers that come back from war, compared back then. I mean, I don't know how old you are. I'm not trying to say that to belittle you or anything like that, but nowadays there's a lot more focus, with technology and all that stuff. When I got back from Afghanistan, it was like a replay of Vietnam. I got called a rapist. I got called a kid killer, a baby killer, spat on. Like seriously, this is back in 2009. It wasn't 67 and all that stuff, but like, excuse me. Like these, the impact it has on our mindset going through war. Like when I got back, I remember when I was a kid, I would see a dead dog on the side of the road. I used to cry as a kid. It wasn't even my dog, but seeing that traumatizing thing, a dead dog that got hit by a car, I was sad. But nowadays, I see a dead dog on the road. I'm like, oh, whatever. Better him than me. I don't even know when to be sad, mad, happy sometimes. Like I really don't. And I think it was from war that kind of made me emotionless. And a lot of these guys that come back out of war and all that stuff, like we don't know how to interact, how should I say this, correctly with civilians and all that stuff. And I don't really think the public people really understand what effects of war does to men. It really fucks us up. And we go to the VA. I'm against the VA. You guys probably go to the VA. Okay, that's fine. But, when I go to the VA, when I got out of war, right, I was like on a cocktail of medication. They weren't even trying to fucking fix the fucking issue. They were trying to do a Band-Aid fix. I'd go to the VA and it was like, all right, here's a new medication. Shut up, get out, call us if you have an issue. They weren't actually trying to fucking fix the fucking problem here and all that stuff. And just what I went through when I look back, it's like, damn, did you guys see how we evacuated Afghanistan? I'm like, damn, I fought in that war and the way we got out, it was a fucking joke. I was like, damn, I put my life on the line. That's why I advocate. I hope my son, when he's, of age, don't sign up for military. It's a shitty thing to say, yeah. I mean, but I'm not going to encourage my son to volunteer himself, put his life on the line for a country that hates men, especially fighting in a war that is useless and that has nothing for USA to join, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. Brian, since he spoke to you and since you wanted to say something to Vermillion, by all means, you have the floor.
I kind of forgot what Vermillion. Mike, I'm so sorry that happened to you and the other vets. I didn't know that was happening. I never heard anything about that happening when you came back, as far as being spit on and everything, kind of it being a replay of Vietnam. Somebody asked how old I am. I'm 64, so I remember a lot. I was 2 years old. I've got a great memory. I was 2 years old when JFK got assassinated. I remember exactly where I was, the people, their reaction. I didn't understand what was going on, but I remember it. So I've got a really good memory. Oh shoot, kind of lost there.
That's
Oh,
okay.
the cocktails and man, I know I've been in the VA system since '89, and boy, has it gone to shit. It used to not be too fucking bad. Um, now I will say this. Let me say this about any veteran here, anybody who knows that a veteran's going in for their comp and pen exam, that they think they've got a problem with. Here's a couple of things. We all know men are taught to walk it off, to just suck it up and deal with it. So men, and as a general rule, tend to minimize things.
Mm-hmm.
Add in military service, you're even worse about it.
Yes.
So the way I explain it to these guys, if I know somebody's going in for a comp and pen exam, I said your tendency is going to want to be to minimize. If you feel like you're exaggerating to the doctor, you're probably only telling the truth. Don't minimize. You're going to feel like you're exaggerating. Don't minimize. Let yourself feel like you're exaggerating because you're probably just telling the doctor the truth. And that's what they need to hear.
Absolutely. Well said. Yeah, I can speak to that too. There is still a prominent culture in the military, actually, of, hush hush, shut up, walk it off, that type of thing. There's these like first sergeant types who, give you like dirty looks when you're on your way out, and they're like, oh, you fucking specialist, you're gonna fucking get out and try to get a high disability rating. You quote unquote, they call it shitbag. Oh, you're a shitbag, and it's like, listen, I mean, like on some level too, like if you get a compensation, VA compensation or disability or something, like, I mean, if you're 18 and you joined, like, you didn't pay all that much into it, but reminder, these are just tax dollars coming back to you that you've already paid too. And, there's nothing like, if you get it, you get it. Like, it's not like you scam the system or anything. To your point about exaggeration, like you actually like people think you can like get away with that. Like you actually can't. Uh, a lot of them are wizened up. These evaluators are wizened up to that type of bullshit. So, but ultimately, good point to bring up that you do just say the truth, and if the truth feels like a cry fest or something like that, you just got to teach yourself not to label it that way. So, good point to bring up. Peace Torn, you go ahead.
Yeah, the biggest problem with the training is that it's uniform and it tries to put everybody in the same mold. The biggest problem with that is that the human condition is extremely complicated and people react to stimuli differently. I know a lot of people, when bad things happen, they break down. A lot of other people that when bad things happen, they cry, they do all this. But, for other people, when bad things happen, the contrary happens. So they calm down. They feel good. Like for myself, when bad things happen, I'm not even afraid. I'm not even sad. I'm not anything. I'm not turning off my emotions. It just feels right. And normal day to day, normal day to day interactions with people are extremely difficult for me. So when bad things happen, it actually feels pretty good because I understand what the problem is. And the training, it tries to make people into weapons. But the problem is that a lot of people, they don't have it in themselves to become weapons.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll just say real quick, then what Brian's and then Brian could go. Yeah, there's damn it, what was I gonna say? There's a problem amongst treatment of soldiers or Marines or airmen or whatever. There's a problem with treatment of placating with drugs and all of that. And that's the classic problem of immediate relief and treating a symptom, not the problem. I could say from the therapeutic perspective, ultimately, treating PTSD really emulates all forms of actual counseling. And that is you walk somebody through their experience, behaviors, and all of that such that they actually have to, in a way, relive the experience in a safe environment. And what that does is it's sort of, I guess you could say, the pathology is one of self-protection, of emotional self-protection. And so with that, if you didn't process those feelings, or if you didn't have time to process those feelings, or if they were too overwhelming, the fear, the whatever, the horror, and all of that, and you develop a pattern of behavior around that protects you from feeling that again. That is what PTSD is, wherein if something is reminiscent, or something quote unquote triggers you to the point of sending you down the path of reliving that feeling and that experience, even though it's tricky because you're not actually in that environment again, your mind still plays these tricks on you. It still emulates it, and that is what it means to have this problem of PTSD, or that sort of affect, but ultimately the treatment, to Vermilion's point or somebody mentioned the drug problem, to your guys' point, the real treatment actually lies in counseling, wherein you actually have to relive that experience. You have to subject yourself to those feelings. And then it's kind of like muscle training, wherein you experience it enough that now it's integrated, you're used to it, you understand that it is a separate experience from what you are now and what you're living in now. It's a separate world, it's a different environment, and you sort of split the two up and you integrate the experience into your psyche without this sensation that you're always reliving it, or that you have to protect yourself from it. So that is the actual psychological element to it. So, Brian, you go ahead.
Whoever mentioned about the dog on the side of the road, it made me think. Maybe it's not a training issue. Maybe it's a societal issue. We think about World War I, and the populace we had was mostly agrarian. There was some amount, but the country was far more agrarian back then. World War II, the same thing. Korea, same thing. And it made me think that the reason I haven't had to kill anybody, but I don't think it would bother me, is because I grew up killing things. I grew up, we didn't take our dogs to the vet, our cats, our pets. If they were sick enough, we put them down ourselves. We slaughtered our own animals. I started off when I was about 10 years old with a rifle, going out and shooting rabbit and squirrel. Then I had to become proficient with that before I was allowed to get a shotgun. Then I moved to pheasant and quail. I've moved, and then moved to large game in my area. That's primarily deer. But I was always around death. When you're in an agrarian society, people are around death far more than they are now that, most people are living in some sort of metro area. There's very few of us left out here in the agrarian areas. I wonder if that might be part of the issue. Maybe as far as what you asked, Marchese, maybe a thing we need to do is that everybody needs to go out and kill something during their training. Maybe that's part of it.
You go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, I mean, the dead dog, I brought up the dead dog thing on the side of the road. I'm just trying to formulate how I should say this. You sound like you've been brought up something that it was like a norm thing to do. Like when I went to war.
Yes, it was.
Yeah, it's so like you've had, when you do one thing, and you accomplish something, whether you graduate college or whatever it may be, you just achieve something. It's very fun, very happy at the beginning, but you do it again. It starts to become old. You're like, okay, been here, done that. It's whatever. That's kind of how my mindset when I got out of war. I was very emotionless. I didn't even know when to be happy, sad, mad, or anything. Like when my daughter started, walking, my third daughter, that's an accomplishment. And I was like, I have to remind myself sometimes, like, this is a moving stone here. My daughter started walking. I need to be happy. I have to catch myself sometimes. I have to remind myself to be happy. And that's just something so small, but like, if someone died, if a family member died, and this is gonna sound very brutal, but sometimes I just don't feel sad. I have to remind myself, like, wow. And this is kind of how, like, what war did to me. it was, I think that was like the, very brutal activity that I went through in my life that I went through. Um, it takes away your emotions and all that. And when I went to the VA, it was not much help. It was just a medication. Like, okay, I'm having trouble sleeping. So they gave me a medication to put me to sleep, but it was a fast acting medication. It was just a Band-Aid fix, right? It would put me to sleep, but it was fast acting. I need something to keep me asleep. So then I go back again. They gave me something to keep me asleep. Not only to put me to sleep, but to keep me asleep. So here I go on with another medication. It was, and, that's just the sleeping pills and all that stuff. It was a lot of other stuff. Uh, and then I look back at it like, damn, they really don't give a shit about veterans. And they really don't. We're just a number. Um, you know, when I look at these foreign wars, why the fuck is USA inside of a war between Israel and Iran? I don't give a fuck about both countries. I only care about USA and our young men. That's it. Only because I've been through this shit before. But why the fuck do we care about USA? I mean, with the war that I went through with Afghanistan, um, you know, when I got out and then now seeing how we pulled out, it's bullshit how men are treated and how we're treated after and what I went through when I came back from war, back in 2009. And when I hear people like, oh, thank you for your service, I'm like, shut the fuck up. You don't even fucking care. Oh, my grandpa was inside. Well, shut the fuck up. Shut up. You don't fucking care. You don't fucking care. You whores are fucking dancing around while men are fucking slaving away, dying and shit. Shut the fuck up. These fucking wars are useless. These politicians, it's all a fucking bullshit fucking fraud. Israel, I really do think is our number one problem. USA needs to let them go. Fuck them. They'd just be creating a bunch of fucking problems. Not just for USA, but a lot of other countries and all that stuff. And I'm not racist or fucking just hate on Jewish people. I don't give a fuck about them. They're not American. I don't care. I just don't fucking care. And like I said in the past, in the previous time I responded, you think I'm gonna help when my son brings up the military, I'm gonna steer him no, do not join the military. This country fucking hates men. You're a fucking second class citizen. Don't fucking, no. Build your business up, go get a degree. Fuck, it's sad to say this as an American citizen myself and all that, but fuck it. I don't care. I'm sorry. I'm ranting.
Yeah, no, you're good. It sounds like you feel, and we got some hands up, so I'll be short. It sounds like it's like a betrayal to you. It sounds like you feel like you were duped, especially given these wars were foreign, and especially since, obviously since you're on this side of Twitter, you're like J-pilled and everything. So that's certainly warranted. That's really the key crux here is understanding the effects on veterans who recognize these wars are not on behalf of what they promised to do. They promised to support and defend the Constitution. So, are you defending the Constitution? If you do that, it's sort of a betrayal, and it sort of makes you feel like what you did was for nothing, and your sacrifice was for nothing. So, absolutely. We got some hands up. I'll have Peace Torn and Brian. I know you've been waiting patiently, but I want to get Anonymous in here now shortly because I know he's a vet. And so, Peace Torn, you go ahead.
Yeah, as time moves forward, when you're in the military, you start to get desensitized. That's like a really common thing these days. In a way, it kind of makes people that served into pseudo psychopaths because they are unable to control their emotions properly. And that becomes a problem because the medicines that they give you, they don't actually help you control your emotions. They just top you off. So when you go off of them, it becomes even worse when you try to control your emotions, and you can go full psycho and shit.
Yeah, and real quick,
most people.
You go ahead.
Hold on. You go ahead. Yeah, most psychopaths they are born with it. But the biggest problem with like people that gain that pseudo-psychopathy when they grow up through trauma is they don't have a way to control those urges, those thoughts, like the ones that are born with it.
Yeah, absolutely. To you and Mike's point, there's a protection mechanism of the mind wherein if you experience such an extreme of emotions and all of that, you develop a self-protection that you can't help yourself from, that where it's just numbness. Numbness is a reconciliation wherein, like Mike said, he has to remind himself to feel certain ways. His mind protects him by, figuring, what, let's just not do any of this feeling anything in the first place, and that'll be a protection there. Brian, you've been waiting pretty patiently, so we'll have Brian and then we'll have Anonymous go.
Yeah, I did want to speak to that about the not feeling emotions and stuff, because that's part of PTSD.
Yeah.
And I just figured out I've been suffering from PTSD, a specific form called complex PTSD, because my mother cheated on my father.
Yep.
My father divorced her.
Yep.
And in part of my dealing with that, and then she actually, it all made sense at the time, but, we won't get into that. But she basically forced us to be estranged. Not that she was speaking badly of him, but she actually lied to me. I asked her screw it, I'm not getting into that. But I say, I'm just figuring out that I've been suffering from it my whole life. And what I wanted to say specifically on the emotions, that's how I dealt with it. It was also right around the same time that I was hitting puberty. So my first thing was to watch Star Trek because of those gorgeous gams that Nichelle Nichols had and was showing on Star Trek reruns. But then I started emulating Spock. I started suppressing my emotions. It was how I could deal with it. And, I've suffered with it my whole life, and it's only about 3 months ago that this all started falling into place on what's been going on. So yeah, it's tough. It's tough. Most people say, why don't you smile more often? What the fuck for? I'm very seldom happy. I can't remember the last time I was honestly happy.
Yeah, sad to hear, and you're right. It's a good point to bring up that the mechanism of PTSD, we often hear about it in terms of soldiers and everything like that, and people seem to think that you can only really have that pathology if you were like blown up or something. But that pathology is a very real self-protection mechanism that emulates for all forms of emotional turmoil. So it's good that you brought that up. Of course, we all know that there's a stigma around that now because libtards just abuse that to call everything their trauma or something like that, and expect some sort of victim currency for that. We'll have Anonymous speak here. I know Anonymous is a vet. So welcome, my friend. I think you could speak a lot to all of this.
Can everyone hear me?
Yes, sir.
Awesome. The little background about me, I served with Marchese for a very long time, and so we became pretty close when we were in. I went over to Afghanistan in 2019, 2020. I never liked that, and so I find a lot of these issues to be very close to home. And a lot of you guys had really, really good points. I tried to write down as much as possible so I can input my 2 cents, but there was just so much good information out there. But I wanted to speak to Marchese's and Peacetorn's. They touched a little bit of psychopathy in leadership, and now I don't think it was as much of an issue as it used to be, or not, excuse me, as much as it used to not be. It's much worse now.
Mm-hmm.
And the issue there is leadership is literally willing to do anything to look good on paper. And it's almost like an inhuman level of just numbness to you're working with people, if that makes any sense. And the one thing that I know you and I saw quite a bit of is this need to go overseas, to where we're basically trying to, as a unit, put our foot in the door, or at least our leaders were trying to get us to go over to a combat zone.
Yes.
And that to me is just like you're treating your people as a tool to get an award or
Yes.
like some form of internal validation through combat. And the politics side feeds into this, and the fact that military leaders now will get in any conflict that politics say is for the greater good, specifically to gain this validation. And it is really just psychopathy at the highest level.
Yeah, absolutely. We observed, and I didn't say we served together just in case you wanted to like turbo anonymous, but yeah, we observed this like gay sycophantile fagginess of obsession and compulsion over like accolades and meeting some sort of gay little requirement. We had this meme of our leadership, because and I don't know if this emulates in the Air Force or in the Marines, probably. You spend all week doing gay fucking dispatches. So for those of you guys who are unfamiliar, especially in the Army, dispatches means you spend every fucking Monday, you go to Motor Pool Monday, and then you inspect the Humvees. You do these gay little inspections to check like if they're good. Then you have a mechanic sign off on whether or not they're good. But the problem already on Monday and Tuesday is that everyone's doing the same thing, so the mechanics don't get to you. Tuesday comes along, you're kind of just fucking dicking around until, Tuesday at like 3 or 4, they sign off on it. They sign off on it. Then on Wednesday, you have to get your commander to sign off on it. Your commander signs off if you could find him, but you don't usually find him until Thursday. You find him on Thursday, you road test the vehicles, which is just drive them fucking around for what was it, like 10 miles? And then, by Friday, you're all spick and span and done and ready. These faggots would then whine and bitch moan, and we literally watched them, or you watched them, fucking cry because we didn't get enough quote unquote flight hours up for that week. And they were actually crying about that. And that underscores this sycophantile culture wherein they forget the part about going overseas means might fucking die. But because it's all about being the tough guy, the hero, the turbo epic soldier, the high speed, as we said, the high speed soldier, the high speed leader, lieutenant, sergeant, whatever, they would try to get all these accolades to like sort of put your name in the basket for deployment. So this cultural idea is the deployment is like this weird goal because then you get like all sorts of glory or whatever. So what they would do is to stand out as a unit, you'd have to like have all these accolades and accomplishments. And so to your point, they would try really hard to get us to do all these like gay little things that were like resume bullet points for them so that they could get us sent overseas so that they could get whatever gay little awards and psychosocial payoff for being cringe and everything too. Real quick before War Torn goes, to Vermilion asked if there was a difference between veterans who are serving in wars that they feel are unjustified or foreign or pointless or something. I think there is probably a rational element, but as far as I've looked up, there's no like quote unquote empirical evidence for that. But you could certainly just figure like you're going to feel worse about it if you're fucking like to Mike's point, if you're fucking murdering, people who like live in fucking poo huts or whatever that, really don't look like they're all that, jerky or whatever, or big fat meanie terrorists or something, especially since these terrorists, you'll murder a terrorist and then like, especially over there, overseas in the Middle East, you'll kill off a terrorist who, you had no choice. He was killing you, but it's in all these little villages and all that stuff. So you might very well see his fucking family the next day, his little 8-year-old kid looking at you, knowing that you killed him. So there, to Vermilion's point, there's probably, as far as I'm looking right now, trying to keep up with everybody, I don't see something that makes a clear differentiation there, but they're probably like you could just rationally infer that there is that differentiation. So, Peace Torn, you go ahead.
Yeah, we have this huge misconception that psychopaths are all retarded freaks that just go around murdering everybody that they see. But there's a separation between really stupid psychopaths and ones that aren't stupid. The ones that are stupid, yeah, they do have that problem. But the ones that aren't, and they have some semblance of control, they're able to control impulses, they become high authorities. So, like, yeah, the higher positions in military will most often than not have those conditions preset upon them. So if you say, oh my God, why is this guy so fucking retarded, psychopathic, it's because many times those positions of power are filled with those psychopaths that, well, that are competent, as they say.
Yeah, there's this, it's certainly in a profession that attracts that type of person, psychopaths and sociopaths. You could zoom out of what their behaviors are, and then you could investigate specific professions, and you'll see that there's like a higher concentration to them, which underscores that they get some sort of weird fix off of it. And in the case of vets and high ranking officials in the military, you have these people who almost get off on this like power sense of, throwing lives around, or almost getting off on the potentiality for them to end lives, or for them to send people to end other lives, and then like, revel in it. So yeah, good stuff to bring up. I want to know, Anonymous, what is your like thought and feeling on everything in regards to, you were in Afghanistan, you met me, I red pilled you on quite a few things, and so now you're very aware of what the United States' Middle Eastern presence is. What is that? What have been your thoughts and feelings on that with regard to, you were there, you might not have been all that enthusiastic about it, but certainly now you know what you were doing over there. So can you say what your thoughts and feelings are on basically getting red pilled on what you were doing over there?
Yeah, when I was over there, there was like this massive amount of time where I was just down and out because I didn't know why we were there,
Mm-hmm.
and it just didn't make any sense in my mind why we needed to be there, because nothing you do there matters.
Right.
And that was one of the big things that started getting me to like question this stuff, and then you kind of told me exactly what's going on over there, and it's just insane to me that we are even in that position. And so it was just like a few days where it's just like, my God, like, we're so far down the rabbit hole that we have an entire industry that is just willing to throw lives at this problem for foreign politics that they don't understand. Or even worse, that they might have been just lied to into thinking that they understand. And I can't even blame them at that point. Like, it's not even their fault, but it's insane. It's absolutely insane. And the level of investment with some of these people, speaking on the Peacetorn's point of leadership specifically, the higher it gets, the more likely they are to be psychos. It reminded me of when I had a commander when I was over there who would come by just to show us, like, literally like a child, the videos and everything from inside the cockpit of their helicopter, just laying waste to people. And so you can tell that they were so attached to this that, they traveled all the way across the base to the opposite side just to show us these clips, basically almost like with the enthusiasm as if it was like Call of Duty or something like that. It was really like childish.
Right.
Of like, look at me massacring these people. And yeah, knowing that it's like for absolutely nothing in the long run is truly horrifying.
Yeah, absolutely. Well said. It's for nothing, and freaks just lap it up, and they think they're in a big fat fucking COD game. LOL, bro. Check out this kill streak. Turbo cringe and gay and faggy, and knowing that it's like nothing, none of it actually matters in the way that you would want it to matter, like defending your country and all that, is certainly a sobering and a disillusioning revelation. Brian, you go ahead.
I put it down in the pills for last Fridays, but for any veteran, any man really who wants to talk. Bill Corbett is a veteran, and he went through a lot of trouble. And when he got back, got divorced, and keeping his children and stuff, and dealing with that. Anybody and I never had any children. I've been there all the time. So if anybody's following me, 7 to 10 Central Time. I don't even know where Bill's in Georgia, so he would be on Eastern, but 7 to 10 Central Time, because that's what I go by. Most every Friday morning, or Monday through Friday, he'll have an open room coffee with Bill and whatever. But he's also got a lot of help for you guys, especially if you're trying to keep seeing your kids. But you can talk about anything in our room. We talk about all sorts of stuff. But so if you want to join us, just feel free. It's just another place you can vent and talk about things, get things off your chest. Just wanted to put that out there for you guys before I forgot.
Absolutely. Good points. Yeah. That's, one of me and Anonymous's friends. He always says his biggest, he's pretty involved. And one of the things he says is, one of the best things vets can do is to network with one another. So that's one vector through which to do that. So thanks for bringing that in. Peace, Torn, you go ahead.
I'm glad that Anonymous brought up the psychopath thing because that is expertise. The most psychopaths are dangerous, obviously. The ones that are good are less dangerous because you can tell them apart from regular people. The ones that are extremely more dangerous, like extremely more dangerous, because you could be speaking to them and you would never ever know that they are one because so well it's normal society.
Yeah, that's a great point. And I think a lot of people, this stuff manifests as something that people don't realize is indeed psychopathic or something along those lines. Like they think, like when Anonymous says, people came over and, we're like, ho ho, look at this, ho ho. Like they think it's funny. Like they somehow just like don't stop to even think twice about whether or not that's fucking normal, or whether or not that's like moral, or whether is it weird that they get off on that. There's sometimes, to your point, it's even dangerous too when the psychopath doesn't even know that he's a psychopath. And so what you have there is them behaving in this way that just sort of gets weirdly accepted as normal and everything. This is the point that I bring up with gun tough guys. You guys have seen me rant off about gun tough guys. You see these videos and it's FAFO, and it's like, yeah, no, actually not FAFO. You can't just fucking shoot somebody in the head because of road rage. And they'll try to argue the exact specifics. Well, actually, like this one where a guy broke into the house and everything, and they're like, well, actually, well, you don't know what he has on him, and he's invading the house. What the heck are you gonna do? What are you, a pussy? You're not gonna protect your wife and kids? What the freaking heck, dude? You're freaking beta. You're freaking pussy. And it's like, okay, it's very clear here that even in the case that, you're kind of left with no choice, you fucking faggots get off on it because you think it makes you a fucking tough guy. But even more, there's psychopaths who get off on it. They, make it like it's they're a tough guy and everything, and it's FAFO and all that. But if you get off on that, like, there's something fucking wrong with you, you absolute fucking freak. So, yeah, I'll say, I think the white pill here, a huge white pill is, we've talked about this before, no Jew or whatever could have predicted the ubiquity of the internet, and the internet makes you converge on either turbo libtardism or whatever, but if you're a truth seeker, you will converge on the truth, so you'll entertain these ideas and everything. And what we have here as a white pill is, people can speak on these matters now. People are actually getting way more informed on it, even though, you should just read directly about it, read the books, read the history and all of that. There's also an element of, exposure to this through people speaking on it and podcasters or whatever makes you think twice about it. And just the fact that other people are openly and confidently speaking to this foreign lobbying problem, foreign wars problem, it makes you stop. And there's this effect on people where you could just imagine it at a party, right? Imagine there's one guy saying like Jews control the media or something. And then everyone's like, dude, what? But then one other person says, oh yeah, dude. Oh wow. I'm so glad I met you. You're on that. all it takes is that second person for everyone to be like, wait, what are you guys talking about? And then the transition happens. And so the big white pill here is that many, many people are indeed informed enough or have just the vague rational idea of you don't even have to be all that Jew pilled to just know, yeah, we're kind of going to war on behalf of another nation. Let's not forget the part where it's 20 something guys with their whole lives ahead of them fucking dying for the sake of Israel controlling the fucking Strait of Hormuz and rebuilding the third temple. So there's a huge white pill in all of this. There's a white pill in that Twitter is unleashed and there's, people talking about this all the time. Even today, I think some of you might have heard me earlier. The funniest one is when liberals are like Jew pilled now. It's so funny because you'll like get along with them and you'll exchange back and forth. They'll still be hesitant on certain things. They'll be hesitant on like the what event that happened in 1940s. But even just posing the question to them of like, hey, the lampshades in the bar of soap, doesn't that kind of sound retarded when you think about it? So there is a white pill in all of this, in that many people are not going to sign up. And this was evident last year or the last year or two where the recruiting numbers were down. They think it's because they had like a Globo Homo ad. I think it's because a lot of people are privy to the foreign wars and the foreign influence. So, Brian, you go ahead.
What you were saying about the third temple made me think something I heard last night that I never thought of before, and I presume this is correct because I never studied it, so I'm just going to repeat it.
Yeah.
Israel seems to have a problem going beyond 80 years.
Yes.
The first temple lasted 80 years, and then they got under control, and somebody took them over. Second temple, 76 years, and then the Romans took them over. So interestingly, with what's going on, the 80th year will be 2028.
Yeah. Isn't it crazy?
Is Israel going to survive that long? Is it going to break that 80th year?
Yeah, isn't that crazy? That underscores how much this all emulates the book of Revelation and everything. And a lot of people try to be like cringe and, make things incite like end of the world panic and everything. But the two world wars, the, issues with them as a people, right? A lot of the biblical elements were about, Jesus came and, it fulfilled Judaism, right? So there's an issue of if you are still of the Jewish faith / race, you are, rejecting God incarnate. And what goes along with that is all kinds of problems wherein if you're not accepting Jesus, like that's definitionally evil in the world. And so, when you are collectivizing around that and trying to enact an agenda that's the antithesis of Jesus, it follows that, you could draw a comparison between everything that's been going on the past like 100 years with the book of Revelation. So absolutely, that's a great point to bring up. So I think overall what you can do is if you see somebody who's thinking of joining and everything, that you probably can't like just be like, yeah, Jews, but certainly I would say a lot of the stuff about, what sells an 18-year-old on joining the army? Tough guy, glory, a little bit of coin in their pocket, pussy, whatever. So all you can really do is just speak to your experience of how that's not how that works. Skills and competence too, that's not how that works. And maybe it was a little different back in the 80s or whatever, but certainly now all you are is just like a fucking motor pool bitch all day. And so, the white pill is in both the political movement, but also in that you can just describe that your experience, like whatever people think they're going to get out of signing up for the military and going to fucking die for Israel is what they think they'll get out of it is not what they'll get out of it. So those are some of my final thoughts there. Brian, you go ahead.
Yeah, I never recommend anybody to join the military anymore. But it was good for me and at the time, but it's not anymore. But that's one reason I got out. I was seeing where it was going. Well, what the fuck are we doing? What the fuck was I doing down there in Honduras? This had nothing to do with stemming the tide of communism. But if you can't talk them out of it, if you cannot talk them out of it, At least convince them to not get married during their first enlistment. Do not get married during your first enlistment.
To your point, real quick too, I'll say if you can't convince them, tell them to join the National Guard first, because that's like one weekend a month or whatever the hell it is, and they could then get literally definitionally get a little bit of a taste of it, and then if they realize, okay, thank God I didn't sign up for active duty, you'll have them sort of being saved. Peace, Torn, you go ahead.
You know, honestly, I think the memes are gonna do most of the work, so people don't join anymore. The whole "I'm not gonna die for Israel" thing is taking root already, and a lot of new kids they hate Israel already. They're not gonna join.
Yeah.
So yeah, so like we don't really have to worry about anything, because turbo normies are always worrying about what's cool, and dying for Israel is not cool.
Yeah, well said. Yeah, hey man, dying for Israel is not cool. All right, we got Aragon. I see you're just joining here, but I'm kind of winding this down, wrapping up, but feel free to give some thoughts. Doesn't matter if you think some of us might have said it already, just feel free to exercise what you got. I see you unmuted, but I'm not hearing you.
There we go. I love Twitter Spaces.
There we go.
Yeah. Yeah, but I've been listening for a little bit. I accidentally opened a new tab and closed out X, but I've been listening for a good minute.
Good, gotcha. Do you have any final thoughts or some thought that you wanted to mention?
Well, I'm not a veteran, so like I can't really give too much of that perspective, although I think America, all I hope is that we don't end up getting too involved in this Iran-Israel BS. I think a lot of the American people are done with it. We're kind of waking up to the bullshit that's going on, and I hope politicians going forward will stop taking money from Jewish AIPACs and stop taking their money. And this goes for both sides. Democrats and Republicans have been taking hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars, even millions, from those AIPACs. And again, we can only vote for people who, pledge to not do that, and hopefully speak for the American people. So, yeah.
Absolutely, well said. Huge foreign influence problem there. What else we got? We got Vermilion. You want to go? You're kind of next to him there.
I just want to throw a real quick one in.
Yeah, go ahead.
Aragon, you owe me a beer. I'd prefer a single malt, but you owe me a beer for using my initials. Guess what my initials are?
What are they?
Too funny. All right, Vermilion, you got any final thoughts?
No, I didn't have any.
Okay. Mike, final thoughts?
Hey, bros. Thank you all for your guys' service. Seriously, I know you guys probably hear all that every day and all that, but seriously, thank you guys for your guys' service, and thank you for chiming in.
Thank you. Thank you for yours. God bless. Anonymous, you go ahead. Any final thoughts?
I didn't really have too much to end off the night on, other than thanks for everyone for letting me speak and everything like that. And thank you, Marchese, for having me on and everything like that. I originally wasn't going to, but you did ask, and I was like, you know what? Might as well, for the homie.
Yeah, I literally did the hop on. Your unemployed vet friend on social. Your unemployed vet friend on social media, dude. What are you doing right now? Hop on. Appreciate you coming. Good stuff. Peace Torn. Final thoughts.
Yeah, you guys probably aren't privy to this information, but in the bottom meme circles, a lot of people have been pushing for us to have a king again, and it looks like they're kind of serious this time.
I'm down. Yeah, I was saying earlier, it's so funny. I'll talk to my turbo normie family members, and I'll say something like, "Yeah, I think quite a few people belong in fucking strictly regulated camps and everything, and their own is well, what if you don't qualify to be a part of the upper class nobility or something like that? And I'm like, that okay, if I belong in like the normie idiot class, then I'll be happy like a little piggy going to my little piggy trough every day, slopping up my slot. Like normies, are already not fucking sentient. They don't have freedom. They're just total slaves to their coomery. So really, like, everything has to do with just, restricting their freedoms, because left unchecked, they're just coom zogbots. So but they're dumb. Definitionally, they don't know what it's like on the other side. So if I'm one of those people, then it's not going to matter if I'm on the other side. And let's suppose that I wind up in this sort of lower nobility class, this sort of lower first level of sentience nobility class. If that's where I belong, that's where I belong. Ultimately you could set this up such that everyone is happy where they are anyway. So, but it's funny. Yeah. A king, whatever. The reflexive antithesis to that, or the reflexive, oh, that's like mean, really just comes from this ridiculous ethos of mean equals bad and one leader equals bad, because like literally dictator, evil, Hitler, and it's just like everyone's past that now. So that's a funny part to bring up. So alrighty, I think. You go ahead. You go ahead.
Yeah, you know something funny, Marchese? Don't worry. If Peace Torn becomes president, you're not going to be in the lower
Yeah,
class.
literally the meme of based if it's my friends. Yeah, me when I become dictator of the United States and I just I just let all my friends do whatever they want, and then just impose strict restrictions on everyone else's sovereignty. Because even if my friends do whatever degenerate thing, it's literally based when my friends do it.
Yo, happy Father's Day to all the fathers out there too. I forgot to add that in my last response.
That's true. True. Yes, very good. Happy Father's Day. I called my dad earlier, so it was all nice.
Hey, I wanted to do one last little thing on either follow me and you'll see me in the Bill's Coffee every morning, most mornings, or follow the link and give Bill a follow, and you'll see him when he's got the rooms open Monday through Friday. Again, divorced fathers, any man whatsoever, but divorced fathers, especially if you've experienced that family court, he's got a good plan on how to organize men, but that's the problem. We need to organize and start changing the family court system. And if you're a divorced father, I'm sure you're well familiar with how bad that can be.
Yeah, absolutely. This all interrelates. This all relates for amongst men. So great stuff to bring up there. Alrighty, I think I will end this one. Speakers, give each other a follow. I think you all follow me anyway, but if you guys haven't met, follow each other. You're all server based in Red Pill. Peace Store, you go ahead if you got something. I can't speak if you unmuted because it echoes.
Oh, okay. Don't follow this one. Follow War Torn, because this one sucks.
Oh yeah, true. Yeah, that's actually War Torn, but he got friend accosted. So you should actually DM Frenicost Diaries to one of our friends here, and he'll do a little eulogy. He'll do a funny little eulogy for your War Torn page. But yeah, so follow Peace Torn, follow War Torn, follow me, follow each other. We're all 5,000 IQ and based in Red Pilled and Chat and Epic and Alpha, and we're on the right side of everything. We're gonna win. And MarcheseMethods.com for one-on-one coaching. I have a Discord server too for $5 a month, wherein you could text me all day, every day, as much as you want for any form of advice, coaching, therapy, and everything of the like. And then there's the one-on-one sessions, which are direct video chatted if you're comfortable with that. If not, it'd be voice chat, and that is my shilling there. So thanks everyone for tuning in. Thanks to our late joiners there. Yin Diesel, I see you joined late there. Follow Yin Diesel. He's a big Spaces host too. And, that's that. So take care, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your evening.
Yo, have a good day.